Hey there, how's it going? This is Liverpool. I am at Albert Dock on a gray and kind of cold day in December, and it just happens to be Christmas Day. And so that is why the carousel is not working. Albert Dock here is kind of the center of the action of the whole history of Liverpool and the tourist scene and the Museum of Liverpool. Yesterday things were a lot more happening. The carousel there was going. There's a whole carnival over there, which I'm going to walk in that direction. But of course, being Christmas Day, then everything is closed. And so I decided what to do is walk over to the Beatles statue. There is a statue of the Beatles, all four of them, over in this direction. And so I'm going to walk over there and then just kind of give a little taste of Liverpool here, capture what you can see here. It is still quite a interesting scene. And I was thinking about what else I could talk about in this video. That is a classic bus there. Street food diner, and so I guess it's actually kind of a restaurant. Maybe you can sit up there or something, and a typical British telephone booth. And so I decided that what I would talk about in this video is my very first trip abroad when I was 18 years old and came to England here, and tell a little bit of the kind of backstory of how that ended up happening. And so I kind of have to start the story from when I graduated from high school, which was a year earlier, in June of 1989, because I skipped 8th grade. And so I graduated a year earlier than I otherwise would have. So I was 17 when I graduated from Berkeley High School, California. Oh, it looks like we got Elvis here. Cool. Oh, maybe sculpture of, oh no, it's Billy Fury. Okay, wow, he looks a lot like Elvis. But Billy Fury, one of the most famous stars of British rock and roll. Well, for being so famous, I've never heard of him before. I guess he was big in England, one of Liverpool's greatest stars. Interesting. And so I graduated from high school in '89, and then I moved up to the town where my mom still lives, Ukiah, in Mendocino County, and I went to the community college there for the fall of 1989. Check out all the love locks. But I was pretty bored with school at that point, and I'd, had visions of traveling all through high school. Just wanted to get out of school and go see the world. And so after that one semester at the Mendocino Community College, then I decided that I wanted to travel to Europe for the next summer. And so I moved back down with my dad. I've been living with him for the last couple of years of high school in the Bay Area. And I got a job at a ice cream parlor, scooping ice cream, and started saving up some money. I also sold a computer. I'd had this computer that I just didn't really like or something like that, and sold this computer, and I had a little bit of money saved up as well. Not very much, but between those three sources of cash. Oh yeah, I also sold my baseball card collection. I totally forgotten about that. I had this baseball card collection that I bet if I'd kept it until now would be worth a fortune, but I sold that for a few $100 and managed to scrape together the money to come to Europe. And so I waited until I had turned 18, and then my flight was booked for literally the day after that in early May. Then I got on the plane and flew to London and arrived 2 days after my 18th birthday for a summer of traveling in Europe. I had a flight going back out of London on August 20th, and so almost 4 months. And so, I was a newbie, obviously. I had never been out of the country at all, other than having been born in Canada. I was born in Vancouver, Canada, but I hadn't been out of the United States since then. I had, however, hitchhiked. I actually started hitchhiking when I was a kid. We lived out this dirt road 5 miles outside of the little town of Willits in Northern California, near that same town, Ukiah, that my mom lives in now. And the bus would drop us off partway out to our house at the bottom of this dirt road, and then it was a mile walk up this dirt road to get to our house. And sometimes my parents would be there to pick us up, me and my brother, and sometimes not. Actually, usually I was by myself because my brother was in a different grade, and so he took a different bus. And so I would usually be dropped off there by the bus and then have to walk up the road a mile to get to the house. And so at some point then I came up with the idea of hitchhiking and just taking a seat and waiting for neighbors to come by and stick out my thumb and just be like, yo, are you going up the road up to our driveway? And so that is when my hitchhiking adventures began. And then later, when I was in high school, then I would end up hitchhiking home, like if I stayed past the time that the bus left, and then I was in town, and then I would hang out with friends or whatever, and then hitchhike back all the way up the hill, up to the house, up the paved road, and then up the dirt road out to our house that way. And then I'd done some little hitchhiking adventures also with my friend Abram. We'd hitchhiked over to the coast to the town of Mendocino and done another hitchhiking trip like up north of Willits, up in Northern California. And so I already had some hitchhiking experience. And so the plan was to start hitchhiking around the United Kingdom, and then I had a train pass, a Eurail pass, for a couple of months, but it didn't cover the whole 3.5 months that I was going to be in Europe. And so that is why I planned to hitchhike all around the UK. And so I got my flight and arrived in London in the middle of the day in early May, and I remember it was a very, very hot day, and I was, here we go, there they are, and I was surprised. I'm going to circle back around and finish up this story here. And so I was like expecting, London, England, it's going to be rainy and cool, and it was super hot. And my plan was to stay at this campground that I'd found instead of staying at a hostel, and just kind of have my own space to hang out in my tent. I had a tent, the Fab 4 store. So I had a tent and sleeping bag and everything needed for camping. So this was all totally happening yesterday. Lots of people around and stuff. And so I had this campground, the name of it, it was like on the edge of London somewhere. But then I had to get there from the airport, and that ended up being just this absurdly convoluted mess of like I took the underground, the tube it's called in London, into the city, and then that's right, I made a mistake looking on my map. Of course, this was long before the internet and cell phones and Google Maps and all that. And so I had this like kind of crappy little tourist map, and I thought that I had figured out where this campground was, but it turned out I had confused the symbols. There was like similar looking symbols for a campground and then something else. And so I went to all this trouble to find where I thought the campground was going to be, and then I get to that spot and it's in the middle of the city. There's no, there's not going to be a campground there. It was just totally wrong. And eventually then I just decided to catch a taxi, and the taxi took forever because it was so far outside of the city, and then it cost, it was like under 30 pounds, but of course this was in 1990, and so that would be a lot more now. But anyways, it was quite a chunk of change to get to the campground there, and all of this ended up taking like 8 hours, literally, from the airport, leaving the airport, because I ended up like walking around London trying to find this supposed campground and all this, and finally I got out there, and I was there for 2 nights, and so I had a whole day just to kind of chillax and get some sleep and get ready for the adventure ahead. And then the next day I got out on a road somewhere, like I just walked out of the campground, just found like this on-ramp onto a freeway and started hitchhiking. And I'm standing there, and like there's just cars flying by. It's like this curve where cars are just like getting on the on-ramp and then just flying by, and I'm thinking, does this make any sense at all? Like, is anybody going to stop for me? This seems ridiculous. It wasn't a good spot. I had never hitchhiked here in England, didn't know if it would actually work or not. And after not too long, 10-20 minutes something, then a lorry, a truck, pulls over and picks me up, and we start cruising, and he takes me a long ways out towards Cornwall. That's where I was headed, the southwestern part of England, and it worked, and I ended up hitchhiking the entire length of the United Kingdom down to Land's End at the southernmost tip of England in Cornwall, and then up through Wales and all the way up to Scotland. And then I had a goal of getting to the topmost part of Scotland called John O'Groats. I guess I'd heard about that and decided it was a good destination to shoot for. So I made it all the way up there to the top of Scotland, and then went across Scotland, Isle of Skye, and then went over to Ireland, and then caught a ferry from Ireland to France, and continued my adventures by train from there. So, and here we go, the Fab Four. Let's see, we got Paul McCartney on the left, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and then John Lennon. The fifth Beatle, yeah.
The Beatles.
Yeah.
Old Beatle.
Yeah.
I did not see them before. They are not here. Put it here before.
The statues? Oh, you were here before and they didn't have the statues?
No.
Maybe 2015 it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're recent. I see.
Only after 2015.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Hong Kong.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Here.
I was just watching a video about Hong Kong yesterday.
Yesterday. Video?
Yeah.
What kind of video?
I follow different travel video guys. Well, he made a couple videos. One was, is Hong Kong a country?
Hong Kong is a country.
Well, he was talking about, is it really a country or is it part of China?
That's the debate of this.
That's kind of a gray area.
Yeah. It's so trouble for us.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm from California, from United States.
America.
Yeah.
Newly built.
It's new also. Okay.
Only after 2008.
I see.
Yeah, these new buildings.
Yeah.
Also that black one. But these three is maybe over 200 years.
Yes, okay.
But the
historical Liverpool.
Here, I think the background is really nice.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye. All right, tomorrow I'm going to London. See ya.